We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines, the number of people infected in China by the coronavirus outbreak jumped on Wednesday to nearly 500 after Hong Kong reported its first death from the disease, and millions more in China were ordered to stay indoors. The highly anticipated start of the graft trial of Rosmah Mansor, the wife of former Malaysian Premier Najib Razak, on Monday, February 3, came to naught after she said through her lawyer that she was taken ill. The Philippine government, through the Department of Foreign Affairs, on Tuesday reaffirmed its commitment to continue developing close relations with both the European Union and the United Kingdom following the latter's formal exit from the bloc. The number of people infected in China by the coronavirus outbreak jumped on Wednesday to nearly 500 after Hong Kong reported its first death from the disease, and millions more in China were ordered to stay indoors. The confirmed toll in mainland China rose to 490 after hardest-hit Hubei province reported 65 more people had died, the biggest single-day tally since the first fatalities emerged last month. More than 20 countries have confirmed cases of the virus, prompting the World Health Organization to declare a global health emergency, several governments to institute travel restrictions, and airlines to suspend flights to and from China. The WHO said Tuesday that the dramatic measures taken by China had provided a window of opportunity to halt transmission, while calling for more global solidarity to combat the virus. The novel coronavirus has continued to spread, with Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand on Tuesday reporting new infections that were not imported from China. In a sign of growing concern about a spread to other densely populated Chinese metropolitan areas, authorities in 3 cities in eastern Zhejiang province, including one near Shanghai, limited the number of people allowed to leave their homes. 3 districts in Hangzhou, including the area where the main office of Chinese tech giant Alibaba is based, now allow only 1 person per household to go outside every 2 days to buy necessities, affecting some 3 million people. The city is now 175 kilometers southwest of the financial hub of Shanghai, which has reported more than 200 cases, including 1 death. Meanwhile, the head of the World Health Organization on Tuesday accused some wealthy countries of being well behind in sharing data on novel coronavirus cases, calling for more global solidarity to combat the virus.
I call on all member states to share detailed information with WHO, including epidemiological, clinical severity, and the results of community studies and investigations. This is the responsibility of all countries under the international health regulations. Of the 176 cases reported outside China so far, WHO has received complete case report forms for only 38% of cases. Some high-income countries are well behind in sharing this vital data with WHO. I don't think it's because they lack capacity.
2 Thai drivers who came into contact with Chinese tourists were among 6 new cases of coronavirus reported Tuesday, bringing to 25 the number of infected in the kingdom. A Thai married couple recently returned from Japan, and 2 Chinese tourists were the remaining new cases, according to Suwanchai Wanatningsha, Roinchai of the Disease Control Department. Thailand is struggling to balance control of a burgeoning health crisis with a lucrative travel sector that attracts more than 10 million Chinese tourists a year. The Trump brings the total number of cases in the country to the highest outside China, where more than 400 people have died since the outbreak emerged in Wuhan in December. Of Thailand's 25 cases, 3 were drivers who have had contact with Chinese visitors. Suwanchai said one driver was picking up sick Chinese tourists from Hua Hin, referring to a popular beach town 3 hours south of Bangkok. A South Korean traveler who passed through Thailand also contracted the virus, but it remains unclear where she got it. So far, 8 patients have recovered fully and been discharged, while 17 remain in hospitals. Several countries have closed their borders or temporarily barred Chinese visitors, but some states closer to home have avoided similar measures during the peak travel season. Thailand now requires visitors from China to show medical certificates stating they are healthy. Thai doctors say they are able to cure the coronavirus using HIV drugs and flu drugs. Our ABC correspondent from Thailand, Cristel Pareria, reports from Bangkok.
Thailand's health ministry said that a Chinese woman infected with the new coronavirus showed a dramatic improvement after she was treated with a cocktail of antivirals used to treat flu and HIV.
Dr. Krieng Sak Atiponwanit said the 71-year-old patient tested negative for the virus 48 hours after the Thai doctors administered the combination during the ministry's daily press. The doctors combined the anti-flu drug oseltamivir with lopinavir and ritonavir, antivirals used to treat HIV. Of 3 patients in Thailand on whom the unique 3-drug therapy was initiated, 2 are continuing to receive the medications. Treatment was discontinued in 1 patient who developed a rash. One of the 2 continuing to receive the medicines has tested negative to the 2019 novel coronavirus. Thailand so far has detected 19 confirmed cases of the virus believed to have originated in the central Chinese city of Wuhan, which is under lockdown. That is the second most number of cases outside of China, with Japan recording 20. So far, 8 patients in Thailand have recovered and returned home, while 11 remain in hospital.
The nation is also monitoring 311 people for possible infections in hospitals as of Sunday, according to a health ministry statement. Deputy Prime Minister and Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul said Thailand will repatriate more than 100 people from Wuhan on February 4 after they pass medical screening in China. They will then be quarantined for 14 days after returning to Thailand. Reporting from Bangkok, Thailand, this is Lady Cristel Pereira, and I am 1 with 25.
The first batch of Filipino repatriates from the epicenter of the novel coronavirus outbreak in China are scheduled to arrive in the Philippines on Saturday, Malacanang said on Wednesday. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the Filipinos will be arriving at the Clark Airport in Pampanga and transported to Fort Magsaysay in Nueva Ecija to undergo the mandatory 14-day quarantine. He said Health Secretary Francisco Duque III was instructed by President Rodrigo Duterte to go to the site to properly address the people affected. Around 42 Filipinos in Hubei province, mostly from the city of Wuhan, have expressed a desire to return home amid the 2019 nCoV outbreak, according to the Department of Foreign Affairs. There are a total of 300 Filipinos in Hubei. Some 150 of the Filipinos are in Wuhan, and the rest are from outside the city but within the province, according to the DFA. The Fort Magsaysay Drug Rehabilitation Center in Nueva Ecija can accommodate 10,000 individuals. Aside from Fort Magsaysay, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said that the government is also eyeing the naval station at Caballo Island off Cavite province as a possible quarantine area for returning OFWs. Meanwhile, Panelo assured that all safeguards made by concerned government agencies are now in place in order to contain the deadly virus. The Bureau of Immigration has implemented the directives of the president, such as the general restriction of entry of individuals coming from China and its special administrative regions, Hong Kong, Macau, he said. Officials on the ground, particularly barangay captains, have been ordered to act in accordance with the tempo dictated by the national government. The Department of Education has issued advisories for students to avoid huge crowds and discourage schools from conducting field trips. The Presidential Communications Operations Office has intensified the dissemination of public health advisories and guidelines. Panelo said the public is also encouraged to observe the protocols and rules designed to combat the virus. Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez on Tuesday said there will be 2 million surgical masks available for both healthcare workers and the public in a month's time to prevent the spread of the novel coronavirus. During a Senate hearing on the country's preparedness on the 2019 nCoV threat, Lopez said the main supplier in Bataan has committed to producing 400,000 pieces of face masks per week, which would be added to the existing local supply. Lopez noted that the current problem is less on the price, but on the supply of surgical masks. Face masks are reportedly selling out amid growing concerns about the emerging public health threat.
The current problem is less on the price but on the supply. Marami po talaga nag-out-of-stock simply because of the sudden the surge in the demand. Marami talaga ng demand, some can be considered qualifying. And the normal inventory ng ating mga drugstores are not that high. And the main source that we were able to talk to over the weekend was the known producer, manufacturer of the mask, itong surgical mask, based in Bataan. Isa po siya exporter talaga. So, in a month, we can commit about 1 million pieces for the public and 1 million pieces for the DOH requirement.
Two Indonesian women who allegedly posted misinformation online about the deadly coronavirus has been arrested, police said, as they warned dozens of hoaxes were being rapidly shared by the country's millions of internet users. The pair were taken into custody in Balikpapan, a city on Borneo Island, in the past few days after separately posting rumors on their social media accounts that a local resident was infected and undergoing treatment. Indonesia has yet to report a confirmed case of the virus, which emerged in a Chinese market at the end of last year and has since killed at least 425 people in China and spread around the world. Local police spokesman Adeyaya Suryana said they posted a hoax on their Facebook account that a Balikpapan resident has been diagnosed with coronavirus. They were spreading lies. The woman, a farmer and a maid, could face up to 3 years in prison if convicted under laws banning the spread of misinformation, he added. Indonesia's communications ministry has warned that it has spotted at least 50 online hoaxes about the virus recently. The Southeast Asian archipelago has one of the world's biggest internet audiences, with some 130 million people online. At the weekend, more than 230 Indonesians arrived home after Jakarta received Beijing's go-ahead to repatriate its nationals living near the epicenter. The returnees will be isolated for 14 days at a hospital in Natuna, a cluster of islands bordering the South China Sea. Their arrival has set off protests in regional capital Ranai, where demonstrators called on officials to ditch plans to quarantine the returnees near a residential area over safety concerns. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus warned that the world may be dangerously ill-prepared for a pandemic. His comment came as the flu-like coronavirus that emerged from China about a month ago continues to rapidly spread. He urged the international agency's 196 member countries to invest in preparedness and not panic.
First, there is no reason for measures that unnecessarily interfere with international travel and trade. We call on all countries to implement decisions that are evidence-based and consistent. WHO stands ready to provide advice to any country that's considering which measures to take.
Novel coronavirus, which is capable.
Both the coronavirus and Ebola outbreaks underscore once again the vital importance for all countries to invest in preparedness, not panic. So far, more than $1 billion has been spent trying to stop Ebola outbreak in DRC. By comparison, just $18 million was spent on preparedness in Uganda. But when Ebola did cross the border to Uganda, they were ready and stopped it. This must be a lesson for the rest of the world. Last year, the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board published its first report, which concluded the world remains dangerously unprepared for a global pandemic. For too long, the world has operated on a cycle of panic and neglect. We throw money at an outbreak, and when it's over, we forget about it and do nothing to prevent the next one. This is dangerously short-sighted and frankly difficult to understand. If we fail to prepare, we're preparing to fail.
Novel coronavirus, which is capable of spreading through human-to-human contact, is not yet considered a pandemic. A pandemic is an epidemic occurring worldwide or over a very wide area, crossing international boundaries and usually affecting a large number of people, according to WHO. While the new virus has spread to almost 24 countries, the majority of the cases remain in mainland China. Nevertheless, many global health experts expect the virus will become a pandemic.
When visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back. The highly anticipated start of the graft trial of Rosma Mansour, the wife of former Malaysian Premier Najib Razak, on Monday, February 3, came to naught after she said through her lawyer that she was taken ill. According to the Straits Times, her counsel Datuk Jagjit Singh informed the High Court that Rosma was too unwell to attend court and has been given sick leave until next week due to a serious medical condition. High Court Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan, however, allowed court to be adjourned only for the day and for the Tuesday date to be vacated. Justice Muhammad Zaini said Wednesday as the new starting date of Rosma's graft trial. Mr. Jagjit, in explaining why his client was absent, said that Rosma was suffering from severe recurrent neck pain apart from dizziness and osteoarthritis to the knees. His explanation invited laughter in court when he said that it was a life-threatening condition based on his search on Google. The government's lead prosecutor, Datuk Seri Gopal Sriram, opposed the sick leave, arguing that prosecution was not informed of it earlier. Mr. Ram argued that he too was suffering from some of the medical conditions that Rosma was said to have, Malay Mail Online News reported. Rosma is accused of soliciting 187.5 million Malaysian ringgit in 2016 when her husband was still Prime Minister, from Jepak Holdings Managing Director Saidi Abang Samsudin, to ensure that the company won a 1.25 billion Malaysian ringgit tender to install and maintain solar, hybrid and diesel generators for 369 rural schools in Sarawak. The UN Security Council's EU member states called Tuesday for Myanmar to bring to justice those who have carried out human rights violations against Rohingya Muslims. France, Estonia, Germany and Belgium urged Myanmar to comply with measures meant to prevent genocide set forth by the International Court of Justice in a joint statement issued following a closed-door Security Council meeting. The text was also signed by former Security Council member and EU state Poland, but it marked the first time the EU members have issued a joint Security Council statement without Britain, which exited the Union on Friday. Britain was among the countries that requested the meeting on Myanmar alongside France, Germany, Belgium, and the United States. China, an indispensable ally for Myanmar, opposed issuing a joint declaration by the entire Council, according to a diplomatic source. The joint statement said Myanmar must address the root causes of its conflicts, urging the Southeast Asian nation to take credible action to bring to justice those responsible for human rights violations. They said Myanmar must also create conditions for and facilitate a voluntary, safe, dignified and sustainable return of the Rohingya to Myanmar. A bloody military crackdown by Myanmar in 2017 sent around 740,000 Rohingya fleeing into neighboring Bangladesh. The Philippine government, through the Department of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday, reaffirmed its commitment to continue developing close relations with both the European Union and the United Kingdom following the latter's formal exit from the bloc. The Department of Foreign Affairs remains committed to developing positive relationships with both the UK and the EU, the agency said in a statement. The DFA urged individuals and corporations doing business in the UK to take note of the withdrawal agreements and other related documents that may affect their respective industries. The UK officially left the EU following the European Parliament's ratification of the withdrawal agreement between the two parties on January 31. Effective February 1 to December 30, the UK enters an 11-month transition period. For international conventions, agreements and arrangements entered into by the EU, the UK will be treated as an EU member state and will continue to be bound by EU rules during the transition. Meanwhile, the DFA deferred any question on the subject to the British Embassy in Manila and the EU delegation to the Philippines. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco and I'm 1 with 25.